the next poem I'll read is about my mother's mother. So my younger grandmother because my mother is also Greek, both my parents are Greek, and when we lived in Greece, we lived there for 3 years, and one Easter we actually ended up going to my mother's village and spending it there, and they just celebrate it so wonderfully there. They bring out the lambs and they cook them out on the streets, and it becomes quite a communal thing. So this is a poem about that. It's also a poem about love and Jesus and the Holocaust, and it's called Holes. There are holes in everything. In the village where my mother grew up, there were holes in the speakers of the sound system, and that is how the women heard the alarm, knew to hide their husbands in holes under the floorboards when the Nazis came looking for men to kill. They never found my grandfather because my grandmother understood the nature of a hole. A hole is built to hold things. It takes things in to keep them safe. A hole is built around the O of love. In 1986, the holes in those speakers spat out different sounds. They were the sounds of Easter and Jesus rising from the dead. Christos anesti ek nekron. And there were holes in the lambs where the metal stakes were run through, their bodies carried on shoulders, a sign of the cross, out onto the hot pits in the streets. A pit is another word for a hole, and I remember those pits lined up, one after the other, coals burning like the split open guts of cigarettes. Cigarette companies understand that the mouth is a hole, that it is in the mouth's nature to want something to suck. Cigarettes fill the void. A void is another word for a hole, and there were voids in all those bodies turning on the spits, voids made by knives. Those voids made me think of the crucifixion, the hole that was made in Jesus' side to make sure he was dead. But everybody knows you don't need to make a hole in something to check if it's dead. A nose has holes, and a nose can smell death, and death smells of fat and passion rendered down to ashes. My grandmother was too big for death to render her because my grandmother was too big for cancer. Cancer is not another word for holes. Cancer is another word for infinity. Infinity is what happens to a cell when apoptosis cannot be turned on and the cell does not know when to stop multiplying and will not die. Repeat. Cancer is not another word for holes, but my grandmother knew that the nature of holes can sometimes be as infinite as cancer. Life is full of holes, and some holes are black. Black holes go on until infinity. Infinity is another word for forever. When the doctors took out my grandmother's tumor, they opened up a black hole in her breast that went on until forever. Forever tramples death. Thanaton, thanaton, patisas, ketis, tentis, nimasis, zoin, charisamenos. Forever is a hole built around the O of love. Christos anesti, Christ is risen. Alithos anesti, indeed, he is risen. And so it goes that the body never dies. The body comes out of a hole built around the O of love, and the O of love saved my grandfather because the Nazis never understood the nature of holes. They only understood the nature of efficiency and dug holes big enough and deep enough to hold many bodies.